Hello, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Wigger-Rosso, and today we're going to be covering Chapter 6, Lesson 6.1 on percents and decimals. Reference pages to this can be found in your textbook, pages 216 to 217. Okay, before we begin, I'm just going to remind you, don't forget to take down all the notes in today's video for full credit on your notebook. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with some key ideas. There's two today. Now, I don't want you to write this down, so just listen first, and I'll tell you what to write down in just a bit. Okay? All right, so it says here for the first part, we're going to go ahead and, let me switch pins, write our percents to decimals. So anytime we have a percent, we're going to change it to a decimal. So to do that, you have two options. You can first, let me go ahead and highlight it. The two options you can have is remove the percent symbol and then divide by 100, or you can just move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Now, I like the green one only because it's easier to work with and do versus the yellow way. Now, the yellow way, it's not wrong. It's just it's longer and it takes more work. So why do more work when we can do it the shorter way? So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'm going to have you do it in class also the green way. So if you can do me a favor, go ahead and write what I have boxed here in the rectangle. Percents to decimal, go ahead and write that down. And to move our percents to a decimal, or change our percent to a decimal, you just move two decimals to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and write down the exact example that they have here. They have here 23%. Now, to make the 23% into a decimal, okay, all we need to do is move it two decimals to the left. Now there's no decimal here in the percent, so but you need to remember that there's a hidden one at the end every time. So if it's at the end, all you're going to do, I'm going to rewrite that. If it's at the end, all you're going to do is move it two to the left. So two to the left. And when you move it to the left, our new answer becomes 0.23. That's it. Okay, so if you get a percent, you remove the percent symbol, and then the decimal is always at the end, and you move it two to the left. Okay, let's go ahead and have us do some more examples. Now, if this is too fast for you, you still need more time to copy this page, go ahead and pause the video and continue when you're ready. Again, you only need to copy this green box and the example below. All right, for examples, I have here example 1. We're going to go ahead again, continue writing our percent to decimal. So I have here 2%. We're going to do A, and then we're going to do B in a bit. So I have 52%. Remember, to change the percent to decimal, we remove the percent. So we're going to remove the percent. The decimal's where? Always at the end hiding. And all we need to do is move it two places to the left. So that's going to be 1, 2. So our answer is 0.52 as our decimal. Okay, let's go ahead and try example B. So we're going to remove the percent symbol. So now we have here 7. The decimal's where? Always at the end, hiding. So we're going to move it 2 to the what? Left. Now notice I don't have a number here. Even though I don't have a number here, we can fill it in with a 0. So don't forget placeholder. So our answer is actually going to be 0.07, not 0.7, a common mistake students always make. Okay? All right. So again, percents to decimals, we move it two places to the what? To the left. All right. I would like for you now to go ahead and take out a piece of paper, and on your own, if you can complete questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're changing all the percents into a decimal by moving it what? Two places to the left. Okay, pause the video if you need time to solve these problems, and then when you're ready, go ahead and press play again. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the second key idea today. So the second key idea today is changing a decimal now, the opposite, into a percent. The other one we did was percent to decimal. Now we're going to go ahead and change it decimal to percent. So again, I'm going to show you the two options you can do. You can do it multiplying it by 100. Okay, that's one way. And again, just listen to this part. You don't need to copy this down. If you've already started, stop. You're actually not going to copy this down, but this down, okay? So I'll tell you when in a bit. All right, the second way is to just move it. Again, we're going to move the decimal two places again, always two, but this time it's to the right. And then you just add your percent symbol. So again, They're both correct. Both methods are good, but the shortest way I would prefer to do it would be the green way. So let's go ahead and copy down this key idea. Again, this is the same thing as this. I just shortened it for you so it's easier to understand and just remember. Okay? All right, so decimals to percent, you're going to move 2 decimals to the right, then add the percent symbol. So let's go ahead and do the example they have. They have 0.36. So let's say I told you that you got a 0.36 on your quiz. Hopefully you don't ever get that. But what percent on your grade is that? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the decimal. Now this time there is a decimal, so there's no decimal that you have to look for. It's right there. All you need to do is move it 2 to the right. So we're going to take this and move it once, twice. And so now you have the answer is 36. Now you're thinking it's 36.0. You don't need that decimal there. Once you move it to the right, you actually don't need that decimal. So I'm going to erase this. All you need to do when you're moving a decimal to a percent is to add the percent symbol at the end. So your 0.36 grade is really a 36%. Okay? So let's go ahead and do example 2, or sorry, example 2. Let me go ahead and change this. This is example 2. We're going to go ahead and write our decimals as percent. So I have 4. Follow along. Make sure you copy all 4. So the first one is 0.47. If you got a 0.47, what is that as a percent in your grade? So again, we're going to move it 2 to the right. So that's going to be 1, 2. So your answer is 47. And do you need a decimal at the end? No, just add a percent, 47% as your grade. Next one, B, you're going to go ahead and move it 2 to the right. And when you move it 2 to the right, be careful with this one. When you move it 2 to the right, it's actually not 66%, but it's 66, and then the decimal falls right there, 0.3, and then all you need to do is add the percent. Okay, so don't forget that point. This one's one you need to be careful and watch out for on your homework, okay? And then for C, we're going to move them 2 to the right. Also, why? Because we're trying to change the decimal to percent. So be careful with this one also. When you move it 2 to the right, it's actually not 18%. Now, if there's not a number right here, what can we do? We can say 180, and it's actually going to be 180% as your answer. We go ahead and circle this and circle this. All right, now for D, again, be careful with this one. B, C, and D are the most common questions students usually miss on their quiz because they forget when you move 2 to the right, you got to move them carefully. So when I move them 2 to the right, 1, 2, I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrow so you can see. How many guys think the answer is 9%? If you say 9%, you are wrong. It is actually 0.9%. So it's actually different from 9%. So the answer really should look like this. Since we moved it 2 to the right, it's 0.9%, not even 1% yet. Okay, so be careful with B, C, and D when you get these questions for homework. Again, decimals to percent, you move it 2 to the right. Okay, all right. Go ahead and continue the same homework paper on your own for questions 5, 6, 7, and 8. Again, don't forget the on your own is on a separate sheet of paper. All right. Go ahead and do example 3 with me. And again, if I went too fast in the last page, go ahead and go back to it, pause it, and do the on your own. When you're ready, go ahead and move on. Okay, so example 3 says this time we're writing a fraction as a percent and a decimal. So we're going to have to take our story problem and write it as a fraction, and then from the fraction change it to a percent and a decimal. So it says on a math test, you get 92 out of a possible of 100 points. Which of the following is not another way of expressing 92 out of 100? So first of all, we need to know what is 92 out of 100 as a fraction. That actually looks like this, 92 out of 100. That looks like a pretty good score to me, I have to say. But we want to know which one of these does not mean the same thing as that. Well, if I do 92 over 100, that actually means that I'm doing top goes in, bottom goes out. And actually, I'm going to show it at the bottom right here. Top goes in, bottom goes out. And when I do that, I actually get, I'm going to finish this real quick, not 0.92. Again, if you can finish that on your own, you'll see that it's going to be 0.92. Now, this 0.92 looks like this answer, so that's the same. Now, 0.92, you learn that you can change it into a percent by moving it 2 to the right, so that's 92%. So that's also this answer right here. So far these two are the same. Now there's one more that's the same, but the question is saying which one is not. So let's see if we can figure out which one is the 0.92, either this one or this one. Whichever one is, that's going to be belong to the circle, the purple circle family, and then the one that's not will be the final answer. So we'll go ahead and complete this by doing 23 over 25 is top goes in, bottom goes out, 23 over 25, and then we're going to do top goes in, and then we're going to do bottom goes out on the other side. Let me just go ahead and finish that for you really quick. Sorry, 17. Oh, oops, sorry, undo this. 17 over 20. And then when I do 23 over 25, I'm going to get a total of, if you can go ahead and do that on the side, or continue doing that for me on your paper, I get a total of 23 over 25 is going to give you 0.92. I think I almost found my answer, but let's go ahead and finish the rest of the problem. So 0.92. Again, make sure you finish this part. I'm just kind of shortening it up just a bit. So it's 0.92. And then when you get 17 over 20, you get 0.85. So as you can see, again, make sure you finish this on your own. 0.85. Finish this on your own right here. As you can see, 0.85 does not match this, does not match this. So this is actually belonging to the purple family. So the one that didn't belong is answer C. So that would be the answer. Okay? All right. In our last example, I'm going to go ahead and do a real life example for you. It's talking about UV sun rays. So it says the figure here shows the portion of ultraviolet UV rays reflected by 4 different surfaces. I guess wherever you are at the ocean, it depends how strong the sun rays is and how off or how bad your sunburn can be. So how many times more UV rays are reflected by water than sea foam? So to do this, we're going to only concentrate on sea foam and water. Now this grass and sand, this is just extra information that they gave us, so we won't look at it for now. Now I noticed that they want to know a comparison. So to compare something, and I'm actually jumping ahead to the next lesson, but I'll go ahead and tell you in this lesson, since they're asking in this question, to compare two different numbers, we need to make sure that they are the same type of number. So I notice this is a percent and this is a fraction. So it's easier to compare them when they're all the same. So either make them all fractions or all percents. Now, I have to say making a fraction to a percent is probably the easiest. So I'm going to keep this the way it is. That's 25%. And I'm going to change the 21 over 25 into a percent by dividing. So top goes in, bottom goes out. And when I divide 21, when I divide 21 into 25, I'm going to get, and again, you need to show the work on your own as well. I'm just shortening it. 21 into 25 is going to give you 0.84. So that's going to be 0.84. Again, if you're still struggling with dividing, you got to come see me after school, okay? So 0.84 and then finish it for me. Okay, I'm just drawing arrows so you can see. And so 0.84 is really how much as a percent? Well, we learned that we can move it 2 to the right. So that's 1, 2. So that's 84%. Now, the question is saying how many times more is the water than the sea foam? So water obviously is more, okay, but we're not going to find the difference. They don't want to know the difference. We want to know how many times more, how many times more. So what we're actually going to do is take we're going to take 84 and divide it by 25 because we want to know how many 25 fits in here. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and do top goes in, bottom goes out. Now, this wasn't just a 24. It was actually 0.84, So we're going to go ahead and put 0.84 here. Now, since we're dividing, we have to make sure that they're both the same. So this 25% actually has to be a decimal to divide. So we want to divide the same things. Remember, it's easier when you work with the same types of numbers. So we're going to change this into a decimal. And when we divide that, we have to look to see, is there anything else we'll need to do? And I actually noticed that since we're dividing a decimal, we actually have to change it back. So we're going to move this 2 places to the right. And the reason why is because we want to make 25, not a percent, but a whole number. And since we did it there, we're going to move it here once, twice. So the new location of the decimal is right there. And then now we have 25 into 84. How many times does that go? And that's 3 times. And then you're going to have to finish it. But the final answer will be 3.36. So what does that mean? That means that the water is 3.36 more UV ray. It has a 3.4 times more UV ray than the seafoam. Okay? So again, once again, this lesson is about percents and decimals and knowing how to change our percent to a decimal or a decimal to percent. And in our next lesson, we'll talk about how do we compare them. So with that being said, one more question to, or two more things to do. Continue the on your own homework for numbers 9 and 10 on the same page. And don't forget they're done on a separate sheet of paper. And then for the next one, I would like for you to go ahead and do the exit ticket, explain and complete the statements below. And any questions you have from today's video, go ahead and bring them up tomorrow and I will be more than happy to answer them. Have a great day. Bye-bye.